AEW Dynamite is in their go home state before we get to Full Gear this Saturday, while NXT is coming out of Halloween Havoc. So, which show was better? How they do? What great matches and storylines they gave out? All of that will be discussed and talked about on this episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone, all things pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, many matches, promotions, wrestlers, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, as you all know, this week's Wednesday Night War was interesting. AEW is going into Full Gear while NXT is coming out of Halloween Havoc. But however, how did they do this week on the rating? So we're going to get to that. The winner for this week's Wednesday Night War is in fact AEW Dynamite with the total viewership of 717,000 views compared from last week, which is 781,000. But the rate to them is still the same. They managed to stay at 0.30 at the 18 the 49 demographic. They both NXT and and AEW did not make the 50 plus ratings. But let's see how NXT did. They made about 610,000 views, but this one is a huge difference from last week. They received last week 876,000 views from that week, but also dropped to a 0.14 on the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, you can ask yourselves, how is it possible if they beat them a week ago in the viewership? Well, however, the reason is right now this week has been on edge, stressful because of the election. Now, I know some of you are saying it's not that it's an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. Right now, people are focusing on what's going on with the election. I'm not trying to be political here or anything. I try to leave that out of it. This channel, I don't want to hear or see people posting, Trump 2020 or Biden 2020. This is not a channel for political. This is a channel, if you love professional wrestling, if you like how I talk about the events from AEW or NXT or any promotion at all, please leave that out. We can talk about that outside of it. I don't want none of that here. But this is a wrestling show. So let's talk about all what happened in AEW Dynamite this week before we get to Full Gear. Okay, this is AEW's Dynamite. We're now in the go home state before we get to Full Gear. So it started out with Jericho coming out for commentary, but of course, there's the iconic singing of Judas from Fozzy. Of course, that's how it's been. He's been the entire commentary the entire night. But the first match of the night is MJF, who is Chris Jericho's opponent, teaming up with his bodyguard slash insurance policy, however you want to call it, against Jericho's Inner Circle members, Sammy Guevara and Ortiz. Now, this is a good match. I have to say it started out great because they're building the story between MJF and Chris Jericho. The way they're saying, Sammy and Ortiz made this match happen a week ago because they don't trust Sammy to join the Inner Circle. Because, that's how they don't trust MJF whatsoever. But the match was great. I did enjoy everything that's happened. Like, it's giving the exact story build that we need at this point. However, much of the match later was Sammy actually was taken out by none other than Matt Hardy, dressed up as, masked as Serpentico. If you guys remember, that's what Sammy did one time when we thought he was done. He just came back out of nowhere. So that is one of those things that happened. But however, it did give the bit of a win for MJF and Wardlow. But the match went into a post match where somehow MJF went straight through Chris Jericho, starting a fuss, and it kind of ended that way. They pulled them away from each other. Warlow pulled him out, and here comes Jake Hager. We haven't seen him last week due to the fact that he was in Bellator for a fight, and that's one of the things that kind of build up. I can't wait to see how this is going to go this coming Saturday. This is one of those pay-per-view matches you definitely got to pay attention and follow, because you may never know what's going to happen. And of course, we know Jericho has been known to put over a lot of the wrestlers, like Pineapple Pete's one of them. So we'll see that what happens. Now, the next thing we see is a great interview with Tony Schiavone talking to Kenny Omega about his match coming up this Saturday for against Hangman Page. Now, some people said, many of the fans like myself, I've always did predict that somehow that this is going to end up with Kenny Omega and Hangman, but Kenny kind of felt he could have ended up with Wardlow, but it didn't. But it looks like the writing was on a wall, so he's ready for it. He's ready to fulfill what people wants to see, is him becoming the AEW World Champion. Next up we have is Trent along with Orange Cassidy and Chuck versus Miro along with Kip and Penelope. Now this is Miro's first singles competition matches. You see, we have seen him debut when he was doing a great promo, but of course his tag team with Kip made him great. But however, this, I have to say, it went amazing. Now, however, this did not went into one of those typical squash matches where you see the big guy taking out the little guy. I have to say this match really played out well in my personal opinion, because it didn't go like 1, 2, 3 like that fast. It just went into a nice, great pace where you see Miro is like, he's still upset that Trent destroyed Allen. Trent is trying to tell him it was an accident, but Miro doesn't want to hear that. But however, I don't know what how the outside interference played out. We did see Kip Sabian taken out by Chuck Taylor, and of course before got in the face of Orange Cassidy. But however, he was attacked by John Silver and the other members of the Dark Order, because we do know Silver and Orange Cassidy are in the match this coming Friday. Originally it was supposed to be the buy-in, but now it's going to be in the main card. But it was a great match, but there was a botch in my what you saw, where Trent was about to jump off the ring ropes, but he messed up. But I like how they tried to pick it up, like try to overturn it and make it go, try to make it look good, despite the fact that Trent botched, and it ended with him with the game, with Miro applying the game over. He tried to continue to wipe Trent Beretta, but however, Chuck Taylor came back, tried to save him, then Kip Sabian. But however, Orange Cassidy showed up and took out Miro and Kip. I have to say, this is like a very interesting thing how it goes. But I'm surprised that this rivalry did not end up in Full Gear, but I feel that maybe this is just the start of the build-up. Now, we do know that the next pay-per-view after Full Gear is Revolution. That's going to take place in February. I'm not sure if they're going to build it up there or before the end of the year. Who knows how they're going to go. Can't wait to see how it's going to be going out. Now, the next thing we have is JR interviewing Hangman Page. Now, Hangman, he feels good about himself, but of course, JR, he's the kind of guy, he can sense something is odd. So he can see that Hangman may be nervous because he's been drinking a glass of whiskey the entire time. And he said he knows exactly what Kenny's going to do. He knows exactly the moves. But he even feels like if he loses, then he'll still have his whiskey. So I have to say it was a pretty good interview for both Kenny and Hangman, the way they interpreted the whole thing with this match that was predicted. Even Hangman said that he predicted this is going to happen, that he somehow was going to meet up with Kenny down the line. So I'm excited for this is going to go down. I think I'm a bit biased. I'll see if I can set up a video of predictions for Full Gear, who I think is going to end up, or how is going to be played. We'll see about that. If I don't, I apologize. Now, the next thing we have is Team Taz. Now, Team Taz, oh my God, actually did put out a great promo. Basically, what happened is he's saying that There is no that Team Taz doesn't have any matches or being booked in Full Gear. As you know, Brian Cage is number one in the ranking. Ricky Starks, he felt that he should have been facing against Cody Rhodes for the TNT Championship, and instead he feels that AEW missed him for this, and I'm feeling like, wow, this is a pretty good promo in my opinion. The way to do it, no one can do good promos than Taz, and I say I liked it. I like how they were making their points made, but they did say they're gonna be at Full Gear, so I don't know what they're gonna play. Do I predict that Ricky Starks is gonna play it out to challenge for the TNT title? If Darby Allin wins, does he mean, I don't know. That's one of the things that is still unclear. But like I said, I'll see if I can do a prediction video for this one. We'll see how that goes. The next match is the tag team match between Private Party and the Young Bucks. As you know, the Young Bucks are still dealing with the whole thing with the FTR going to Full Gear. Matt is hurt. Then they made that stipulation saying that if they don't win the tag team titles, then they will not get the AEW tag team titles ever again. But it was a bit interesting match where you see like Matt knows he's injured, but how bad can it get? I think that's one of the great stories playing out. Nick knows he has to hold on as much as possible. They need a win because they cannot hold, and Private Party seemed like they're getting the whole thing going. But however, when the match ended with in the Bucks' favor, here comes FTR once again. They try to take out Matt's ankle one more time. But however, the biggest surprise, here comes Hangman Page with a glass of whiskey, try to fend off FTR. As you remember, it was FTR who manipulated Hangman to turn his back on the Bucks. And then behind him, here comes Kenny Omega. But I don't know what was the build up between this one. As you know, Kenny and Hangman, they know they have to face each other. I kind of was expecting that when Hangman had that glass empty of whiskey in his hand, that he was gonna whack him. You know, because they're both are in the finals for the World AEW World Title Eliminator, and that kind of ruined it a bit for me. I felt they could have gone with that, but I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if it was a bad move. I don't know if they should have done that or if it was a bad move that they didn't do it. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes in AEW. Now, the next thing we have is the face to face. I have to say, I love this promo. This is one of those promos that tells the story between the friendship between meaning John Moxley, and Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston has like gone out saying he has worked his ass off for 18 years to get where he's going to win the world title. And of course, John Moxley, who knows him well, said that, I remember how I was supposed to look. I was gonna look out for you. I was happy you were in AEW, and all of that. And that's one of the things I love it how Moxley brings up Kingston's mom about how he's saying all this, that he said he failed to protect them, that he didn't do it. Like Eddie Kingston knows that he cannot touch him. If he touches uh, Moxley or Moxley touches Kingston, then there is no match between them. So basically, it's gonna be the end of Kingston. He will not get another title shot, or so. But I have to say, it was one of the best promos ever. I have to say, Eddie does one of those emotional, like great promos about emotional stuff that fits into the story, and that's one of those great things that we have to pay attention about Eddie since joining AEW, and I love it. Now, we have this insane video from Pac. We haven't seen him for almost 7 months, due to the fact in breaking kayfabe, he was stuck in the UK because of the restrictions due to COVID, and that's okay. We understand, but the real question, it kind of ended where, what does it mean now that you got Penta and Ray Phoenix, the Lucha Brothers, aligned with Eddie? If you'll recall, those two, along with Pac, they formed a faction called the Death Triangle, or Triángulo Muerte de Triángulo, I don't know if that's how it is, but yeah. So, but he did make some cryptic remark towards Eddie. Now, do we see Pac attacking Eddie Kingston at Full Gear? Probably not, but maybe somewhere down the line in an AEW Dynamite show. I'm not sure. I would love to see Pac return. I mean, we missed the guy. I was a big fan of him when he was Neville, but we'll see when we cross that bridge. Next up, we have is Red Velvet along with Brandy facing up against Nyla Rose and Vicky Girl and with Vicky Girl. This match went a bit quick, a bit like maybe less than 5 minutes or so, with Nyla Rose winning, and of course Vicky Guerrero insulting Brandy in the post match, saying all this thing, and she said she's grateful that Sheeta actually accepted the challenge. She felt that she had no other choice because she was obligated. It wasn't that, she had to deal with Sheeta, and of course, I like how Vicky was trying to get into her head and started a melee between those two, and that's how one of those things we see, like who could forget how their match in Double or Nothing ended, where it went all aggressive with Sheeta. So I can't wait how this is gonna go out in Full Gear for that. Next thing we have is, of course, Darby Allin sending a message to Cody. All of this and that. So basically, one of those mass type. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But it jumps in with the main event time where we have the Dark Order, John Silver, Colt Cabana, and Ten facing off against the Nightmare Family. We have the the newer members, the Gun Club, consistent of Austin Gunn and Billy Gunn, father and son, teaming with Cody. This was a good match because I felt that it kind of gave a bit of a bit overness to the Gun Club. Reason is the Gun Club has mostly been seen on AEW Dark. I felt like Cody gave a bit of the spotlight for the Gun Club to recognize him. Now we all know Billy Gunn's reputation about his past and all that, and it was a pretty good match. Of course, John Silver, who's being the cocky one, who's like the crazy one, tries to do everything. But however, I was surprised who picked up the victory, and that person was Austin Gunn picking up the victory for his team, and I'm very surprised how this. But however, in the match, post match, I have to say this promo part was one of the best. I have to say, you see Cody talking to Darby, who's up in the stands, telling him that he was the one who thought of him being here, and he said that the VPs never believed in him. They thought, oh, he was out of his mind, that he's not good enough, that he's not worth their time to be in it. They didn't believe in him. But for Cody, he made statements about saying, like, he will never be the guy that the face of the company. And that kind of, I think, for Darby, he felt like, I don't think it matters who's the face. The only thing that matters to him is the prize. That's how I see it. But I have to say there were some great promos, great matches that they put in. But I will give you guys my final thoughts. So let's go with WWE's NXT. Okay, NXT coming out of the Halloween Havoc. Uh, it was a good show. So let's see how they did in this one. First match, it was, I have to say, I like the opening on this one. It's Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai. This rivalry is very interesting. As you know, Ember Moon came back after we all heard that she was injured. She said she would start from the top, from the bottom, not take a shortcut. But Dakota Kai took badly to saying that Ember Moon is here to steal her spotlight, so she wants to prove it. But however, the match ended with, of course, interference from Raquel Gonzalez. Now, do I see this rivalry could continue? Perhaps. But we'll just wait and see next week after that, see how this goes. I have to say, they started out great on Strong on this one. On Strong. Do I consider it the best? Frankly, I'm not sure. Now, next thing we have is an interview with Cameron Grimes. He is still suffering from post-traumatic stress after his intense battle with Dexter Lumis and the haunted house of terror. He's still jumpy. He's still trying to get over it. Kushida is took advantage of it, trying to ensure he win. Everything was going in Cameron Grimes' way, but later there was a moment where the referee got knocked down, but Kushida put Cameron Grimes in a hoverboard. He couldn't get him, and then of course here comes Cameron Grimes taking him out. He pinned him, but there was no ref. But here comes the ref, who was the zombie. He was still frightened. He was nervous. Um, the ref is trying to tell him what's going on, and as soon as Kushida put him in the hoverboard in the submission, he immediately tapped out. He wanted out because he was still scared of the ref, who he believes is a zombie. I have to say, I like how they developed Cameron Grimes' character, who was this cocky dude believing that he will win, that he's going to go straight to the moon, but now he is going to suffering post-traumatic stress after being scared from that haunted house of terror. And I have to say, I like how he's playing into it, how it's jumping, going in with him, going crazy. I love it. Next up, we have it's Shotzi Blackheart, who, as you know, she did a great job being the host of Halloween Havoc a week ago, but she did was told that she can pick any match she wants, and she chose Toni Storm, who is a big fan of it, but at the same time, it would be a challenge. So basically, this is what she wanted. She wanted this match to happen to put herself more on the map. So I loved it. Now, Toni Storm, on the other hand, she's saying, she respects her, but however, you be careful what you wish for. So that's one of those things we see every time. But Toni Storm, I have to say, I'm a fan of too as well. And of course, she's a Mae Young Classic winner. Next up, we have is a very interesting Io Shirai calling out Rhea Ripley. Now, this is a match that was being made in the process. As you know, ever since Rhea Ripley has lost the NXT Women's Championship to Charlotte at WrestleMania, she's been trying to get back at it, including trying to get Io Shirai. She's been trying to face her, but however, people were getting in the way to trying to face her. And now it appears that Io Shirai wants to make that happen. So she called her out, saying that that she'll accept. And we'll get to Rhea Ripley in a bit. Then we had a match that was supposed to be Drake Maverick and Killian Dane versus Everrise. But however, the match went into a no contest due to the attack of Pat McAfee and his buddies, Orny Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Pete Dunne. Now, this was a very interesting promo. I love how this was played out, where Pat McAfee was saying that they're the new kids on the block, the new crew, the Undisputed Era is done, their history, that they're the ones that are going to take over NXT. I believe this is how it's going to be. I feel that somewhere down the line, Undisputed Era is going to come back. Pat McAfee is going to say that they're done, but however, this is going to be a battle of who is going to dominate NXT. That's how I see it. But they burned the Undisputed Era flag to set up a message saying it's their show. And Pete Dunne made it clear that why he turned his back on Kyle O'Reilly when he was helping him. Well, who could forget a couple years ago, he teamed up with Roderick Strong, and Roderick Strong stabbed him in the back, costing him to lose the Dusty Road Tag Team Classic, which is something he hasn't forgotten. So it's like payback's a bitch type of scenario. But we'll see how that goes whenever Undisputed Era gets back. Now, here's a funny segment I like. Johnny Gargano, who's breaking the curse of the wheels, he gets a visit from the same guy who helped them win that match against Damian Priest. So basically, that's what I've been seeing. I think for Johnny, he's playing this very interesting character where he's happy that he won, that he doesn't like wheels, but now he loves them. But I thought it was funny. But now we jump into the next match. We had Toni Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart. But it comes out where Shotzi's upset that she didn't come out with her tank. Someone stole it. She thought Tony Storm had anything, but the match was good. But however, things didn't go exactly according to plan for Shotzi. Here comes Candice LeRae telling her she found her tank, and of course the culprit was to be revealed. It was Candice, and of course Shotzi lost the match to Tony because she was distracted. But however, Candice hasn't forgotten what happened at Halloween Havoc, where she felt she should have won the match against Io Shirai if she didn't got in the way. So basically, destroying her tank makes it even. And I love how Shotzi Blackheart played out how her heart was broken, her that her tank, one of her prized possessions, was destroyed. And I feel like this is going to be an interesting build-up for a feud between both Shotzi Blackheart and Candice LeRae. I think this is going to be a very balls to the wall feud between those two. That's what I see. Now, as you know earlier, we've been seeing Jake Atlas. He wants to get a shot of the NXT Cruiserweight title, but Santos doesn't believe he earned it. I mean, Santos doesn't want to put that title on line. He feels like no one earns that title. So what he does, he attacks Legado. So he whacked Raul Mendoza with the crowbar. I think he's trying to take out the other both Mendoza and Wow, since we all know Santos said he beat Isaiah Swerve Scott fair and square. Same thing with Jake Atlas. But however, we all know that didn't happen. He had Legado by there's both Wilder and Mendoza by his side to ensure he wins. So I think Jake is trying to take out both Mendoza. Whenever the time arrives, he will get his title shot against Mendoza. Now here comes another Thatcher Can, one of those Timothy Thatcher sessions. He was applying the rope, but however, his student turned his back. I have to say, I was kind of hoping something like this was going to happen somewhere down the line with Thatcher, that maybe his student will turn his back on him. I don't know why I expected it. Maybe because Thatcher thinks he knows what he's doing, humiliating the students when he's teaching them something. Like he goes aggressive mode down the line. But we'll see how that goes. Then we see an interview with Mia Yim. Like, if you all recall, she's been getting letters from Boa, one of her fellow country mate from China. The letters were apparently the letters that she received were coming from her family, that they're disappointed in her because of her losses. And of course, William Regal sent her another letter, and she requested a match against Raquel Gonzalez. Now, he asked her, "Are you sure this is what you want? Do you want Raquel Gonzalez?" As you know, because of what happened, Raquel Gonzalez was one of the few that was the reason she's been on a losing streak. So maybe that's how the story is being played out for her. I'm not sure, but if it does, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Now, we already heard what Io Shirai wants. She wants to face Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship, and of course Ripley accepted. But she made a very interesting comment, saying, "I think I know what your nightmare is." She's saying that Io say that she's not afraid of anything, but there is what her nightmare really is. Her nightmare, she believes, if she loses the title to her. So that's one of the things that it brings out, like much of the, how do I say, that it tells a bit of the story. Rhea Ripley wants back what she lost, and Io Shirai will not lose the title that she worked so hard to get to. And this is going to be one of those interesting. Now, we don't know when that's going to happen, but I hope it does. I know for a fact it will happen. But the question is, when is it going to happen? Is it going to happen in the next takeover or prior before the next takeover? We don't know. But I'm excited to see that. Now it's the main event time. We have Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa. I have to say, this is one of those amazing matches, how it ended, because we know Tommaso Ciampa, how he is, and same thing with Velveteen Dream. Do I think it was the greatest closer for this one? I have to say maybe 90% of it, I have to say. I mean, it would have been more cooler with more of the hardcore standard, but it didn't. But it was a good match. I'm not gonna lie about that. But of course, Tommaso Ciampa going after the cast, which is the big weakness that exposes Velveteen Dream. So that's one of those things. But having Tommaso Ciampa win was a great match. I have to say that it was a good match. I love it. I enjoyed it. Hopefully they do some things. Now let's jump in to the final thoughts of this segment. All right, so which show, in my opinion, was better for this one? In my final thoughts, I have to say I feel is AEW. Not because I say so. There were some great promos. The way the match started and ended, it's what gives it more away. The whole storyline with MJF and Jericho, that is something that we have to pay attention because it builds it up as we go. And of course, that promo with Eddie Kingston, how his rivalry with John Moxley and stuff, that is one of those things we gotta pay attention no matter what we think, because that plays out well. And the thing with Kenny Omega and Hangman, that's something we gotta pay attention because we're getting closer. Because this is sort of like, okay, it's expected to see Hangman and Kenny Omega face off in the finals for the AEW World Eliminator. And that is something we got to pay attention. I have to say there were a lot of great promos, including with Taz. They did a lot of promos on this one, and do I think? And I have to say that's one of the things I like because they did some great promos. Like, like if you know this, there's some wrestlers or people that are good. Taz is one of them, so it's Eddie Kingston. But that's how I feel. In NXT, I have to say, great start with the women's division with Raquel Gonzalez and Ember Moon, but the ending I felt they could have done more. I think much of the excitement was down the middle with Shotzi Blackheart losing her tank, Pat McAfee. I think the problem was only the start and finish. They were good, but they weren't great. And that's how I would see it. I think the middle part in NXT is what plays out a bit. And that's one of the things that I have paid attention. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, go back and see AEW Dynamite and NXT. You see exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I always review on certain things. So I think that's how I'm going to leave it for now, knowing that that's how I see it. As you guys know, we're still dealing with the whole thing with the election, but I'm not going to talk about it too much. But I want to give you guys an update on this thing. As you know, if you guys saw my previous episode talking about Dragon Gate, apparently a new Dragon Gate event happened in Korakuen Hall. I will review that along with NXT UK, 205 Live, and of course New Japan Strong with the road to New Japan Showdown. That is one of the things I will pay attention. And then this Saturday will be the biggest events ever. We have two two big shows coming from both AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan is going to have Power Struggle, and of course AEW Full Gear. I will review those. Now I will try to do a prediction video, a separate on what do I think of the matches, who is going to win, how is it going to be played out, who I think it's going to play out. So I hope you guys love this, like this episode, and if you guys want me to talk about another promotion that I may have heard of or don't know, I can do that. So leave a comment down below. So I must bid all of you guys adieu. So goodbye, mwah, and have a nice day. Bang.